Good morning YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. As I mentioned in a previous video, today is the 3rd of May, the 22nd annual Australian Celtic Festival is on in Glen Innes. It's the year of Cornwall, and as I speak, at 18 minutes past 9, the parade is just about to start in the main street of Glen Innes. Here's a shot you may recall from last year's parade, when it was in fact the year of Scotland and they had blue sky in Glen Innes. Last year being the year of Scotland, there was a record number of bagpipe marching bands, as well as Viking reconstructionists wearing kilts and carrying railway lines. They even had Celtic sheepdog trials. You thought I was joking, didn't you? Would I lie to you? Not only do they have marching pipe bands in the main street, I can even show you the proverbial Celtic Aboriginal wearing a kilt, also carrying railway lines in the strong man competition. So the parade starts in 3 minutes. This year the Australian Celtic Festival is celebrating the year of Cornwall, so here's some random information about Cornwall, courtesy of the Glen Severn Council. Some of it may well go with a pinch of salt. Saints, tin mining and oggy oggy oggy. So anyway, what's going on in Cornwall? Which may be found down past Devon on the little pointy end bit of the great British Isles. Well, I don't know much about it apart from the fact that I have some YouTube friends living there, and in Falmouth they have a university. And last year at about this time of the year, Falmouth University sent me a medal and a rosette for winning a low technology award in the Equals Project YouTube film competition. So I was going to take this rig into the main street today and give it its annual run, but to be honest, this year the British Long Range Rain Dancing organisation has succeeded in sending us some truly British weather. 3 degrees and spitting with rain. At 09:31, just as the Celtic clowns in kilts are commencing to march up and down the main street of Glen Innes. So at 3 degrees, spitting with rain, a little bit of wind blowing, I thought in honour of Glen Innes's Celtic Cornishness, I would walk at least once around the driveway. For you. Isn't it good to live in the most Celtic part of Australia? It's like, who was it who calculated that there's more Celts here in this part of Australia than there is anywhere else on the continent or Tasmania? Let's face it, Launceston is in Cornwall and Launceston is in Tasmania. So why is the Australian Celtic Festival happening in Glen Innes? Well, it's happening in Glen Innes because the Chamber of Commerce decreed that it was so. It should be so. Last year was the first year the festival looked as if it might actually perhaps break even. The year before that was the first year they had a festival without military reenactors dressed up as Roman legionaries and British Redcoats. And you know what? For 19 years before that, the military reenactors, adding colour and spectacle to the proceedings, had succeeded in chasing any serious students of history away from the place. Because having a Celtic festival in Glen Innes on the theory that there are more Celts here than there is anywhere else in Australia would be a little bit like having a village in Israel deciding to have an annual Back to the Holocaust weekend, claiming there were more Holocaust survivors there in that one village than anywhere else in Israel. For the hypothetical Israeli village running a back to the Holocaust celebration, for them to then decide to add colour and spectacle by adding military reenactors dressed up as Gestapo and SS to march among the clans of Jewish people dressed up as concentration camp victims on the way to the gas chambers marching down the main street. That was roughly analogous to what the Glen Innes Chamber of Commerce and the Standing Stones Committee and the Festival Committee used to do every year when they used to pay military reenactors to come and dress up like Roman legionaries and British Redcoats firing their brown best muskets mixed in among the Celtic clans marching up and down the main street. They added colour and spectacle, but they chased all the seriously historically interested, archaeologically interested people away from the event. So, let's hope that despite the miserable weather that the British Long Range Rain Dancing Group has sent us so thoughtfully, it's great, I love it. We're going into an El Nino drought. I'd really like to see my water tanks and dams all topped off. But it's beautifully authentic weather for a Celtic parade up the main street of Glen Innes. And I just couldn't help myself. I can go for a walk at 3 degrees barefoot in the not quite snow, but I wasn't going to drive into town and stand around there for hours doing it. I'm now going to go inside into the squalid little hovel that I live in and sit in front of the potbelly, which has continued to burn while I was outside. And my place is 28 degrees inside and the barometer's just jumped to 1,000 millibars. It's been 999.5 all morning. So maybe the worst of the weather has just hit them while they're marching. And for the sake of my rates bill, let's hope that this year, like last year, the festival breaks even. Because for 19 years, maybe 20 years, 19 years it did not break even. And the ratepayers carried the can and underwrote the fees and the accommodation and the travelling costs and the meals of the paid performers and entertainers who are engaged at commercial rates by the Festival Committee, which is underwritten by Council, in order to draw in to the town cashed up tourists, people from far outside the district who don't want to think about the fact that we're living in Australia in an era of man-made global warming. They want to focus on what their umpty-ump great-grandparents may perhaps have done. Or not. According to who's telling the grandparent story. Last year it was really sunny. Record number of bands, probably even a record number of Celtic sheepdogs. There was certainly a record number of medieval reconstruction societies. I think there was 4 different mobs there. This year it started well in that there were kilts in the main street 2 or 3 days ago, and the people in the shops in the main street said they were busy and unusually busy and rushed off their feet. But I don't quite know how many people are going to shell out the money to go up to the Standing Slivers and listen to bagpipes and folk music all day in the sleet at 3 degrees Celsius. So it's strange, but the more authentic the weather gets, the less successful the festival generally is. So I guess that will be a Celtic wren then. And that'll be more Celtic wrens, feeding in the little ray of sunshine, which has just broken through the clouds to celebrate the slight bump in the barometer. Happy year of the Cornwall. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.